Okay, so what we'd like to do is something similar to this. Notice that this is on like the border north, and this on the center is a J panel. Do I have to put a J panel here? Not necessarily, but I could. As you can see, if I put it, it's going to put some kind of a space there, but I can put it also this way, and that's going to be fine. So this content pane in border layout, which means this content pane, that's the content, I mean the frame itself. So I'm going to put this thing into a border layout. I'll define a text field and put it in north, and a panel, I'm going to put that panel center. But the panel is going to have a grid layout of 4x4, where I'm going to put the buttons. Okay, let's start do that. So I just created the project, and let's do it. Now this extends JFrame. Let's have the constructor. And let's just initialize the superclass with the title calculator or swing calculator. What's swing calculator? Okay, and let's set the location just to be in the middle, so we don't have to. So let's just use these good numbers because they seem to be okay. And set size. So what size do you find? Some 300. All right. And then set default close operation, which is exit again on close. What is it? Something else? Yes, set the layout. It will be new border layout. Okay. Now I can put the gaps if I want to. You see, you can put the horizontal gap. Let's just put some numbers there. That's 5 and 5. So I just put some kind of gap between them. Yes. So now what I need to do is to add the text field. So let's create private J text field. And let's call it TF. I'm going to make a display because it's not always result. Sometimes I use it as an input and sometimes as a result. So let's just call it display. That will make that will be enough. I'm going to also define JPanel, which is the one I'm going to use the panel for the buttons. I need buttons. I'm going to create an array of buttons. And I'm going to call them buttons. And that will be enough, I think. Now, well, do I have to? I don't have to. I can if I want, but as I said, I don't need to. It's not mandatory. I will just not use it actually. Just to see, actually what I'm going to do is now initialize this text field. So the TF display equal new JText field, and then I'm going to okay, just put it empty, or maybe not. I'm going to put 0. Why? Just to show you something, because I just would like to add this. Sorry, first of all, yes, I would like to add this thing, this TF display. I will add it to this border north. And then the rest, I'm not going to do anything, just I'm doing this. So I just would like to see how it looks like. Of course, I forgot to create an object. So let's create a new calculator and then set visible to true. Here it is. Now, I'd like to have this 0 to be aligned right as of here. So there's something we did not see actually, but there's a lot of things that we did not see. So now if you would like to do something you don't find it, just Google it. For example, what you should have done if you don't know something, just jtext field align text to right, for example, and you're going to be finding a lot of Stack Overflow, for example. This is a good website to start from, and you can just have a look at, see something that this is the question, somebody tries to do something, and sometimes it's quite more confusing, but see, this is something that tells me set horizontal alignment, and this is something interesting, but it tells me swing constant. That's not exactly what I want, but it's close enough. I'm going to say at least set horizontal alignment. Oh, it's available, and I'm going to use NetBeans help by doing this control space. Well, it doesn't help much, but in the control space, now see, it helps me with this. Now it shows me that this is set horizontal alignment, and then there's a number here, and it says the horizontal alignment of the text, and valid keys are jtext field left, center, right, leading, trailing, which is another for left and right. So what I'm going to do is to use this now, this jtext field and dot right. Now doing so, if I run this now, it becomes here to the right. So there's a lot of things that I can do as well. I can change the font size, make it bigger, etc. But anyway, this is something that's for another talk, maybe later. Now let's just create now the panel. So we have the panel, the buttons equal new jpanel. I would like to initialize that. And what's the border? What's the layout in this panel? New grid layout, and I would like to mention that it is 4 by 4, and I can also put some kind of gap. Now inside this panel I'm just like to add the buttons, but I don't have the buttons ready. Let me initialize them, but to initialize them it's going to be a little bit I need a lot of loops actually, but let's just do that. So we have buttons. First of all, I need to initialize them, but what's the size? How many buttons do I have? Actually I have more than 10. I can make them 10 and special cases, or I can make them whole of them. The advantage of each one is that I can just use one variable name and then add them all if I used all of them as an array. But the disadvantage is that I need to remember what's the position of the equal, what's the position of the plus, which might not be really as straightforward, and it might be hard to follow up the code. So I'll prefer to use, I think it's easier to use this, use the 10, but then because I use 10 and still need to declare different buttons for the rest. So I will have now this add and the clear, and then let's just keep the operations all at the same place. Add and subtract, and then divide and multiply, and equal. Now and the last one is the equal. Let's add it. Equal. Now let's initialize them. Okay, these 10 buttons, I can initialize them easily with a for loop, right? Yes. Less than 10. All I need to do is buttons of I equal new j button, and I just need to put the I, but let's convert it to value of I, and that's it now. Yes, but I mean, I will have 0 as a button as well. No, I'm not talking about the position of the buttons yet. I'm just having the buttons now, but where to put them, that's another story. Now I'm just initializing them. I'm not putting them in the panel. I'm just initializing them at this time. And now I need to keep initializing the buttons by initializing the others. This add equal new j button, and I'm going to put the plus and a lot of copy and paste with this subtract, with the minus, and then divide. And again, I'm not specifying where I'm putting them. Multiply, I'll put the x. And then we have the clear with the c, and then the equal with the equal. Now I just initialized them. I did not put them anywhere. Now I need to put them in the panel. So the order matters because the first one, let's go back here, not here. The first one that I'm going to add is the 7, then the 8, then the 9, then the plus, and then 4, 5, 6, and the minus, and 1, 2, 3, and then the star. So I can add them individually, one by one, by doing something like this, for example, button for the panel, what I'm going to add them. So the panel of the buttons, I'm going to add these buttons 7, and then 8, and then 9, and then the button add. I'm just going to copy and paste a lot of them. So this is now not buttons, but it's going to be the button add. Is it the add? Yes, then the subtract. And then we have 4, 5, 6, and the button subtract. And then 1, 2, 3, and then the button multiply. And we still have another row of 3 things. Or maybe just add these, which will be easier. So the first one is the clear, then the 0, and then the equal, and the divide. Yeah. Yes. I said yes. No, it's just button at 10 is just you're getting access to one of them. If I do something like this, I'm accessing just one button. So if you put a number, that means one of the buttons, not all of them. So if I used all the buttons, I would have used, for example, button add to be 11, button 12, button 12 would be the subtract, something like that. Yes?
There is no analytic code in Java that calculator, because it's fixed, the arrangement of the calculator of the numbering pad.
No, no. You could create a class and make it available, and that becomes some kind of object that you can use. Yeah.
Can I say add the minus?
What do you mean add the minus?
Like without saying button multiply, I say just multiply.
No, I didn't get your question. For example, let me. This is the minus. What you would like to do?
I just say just add the minus.
Yeah, the sign.
Like what? I don't know. Like what? Like this?
Yeah, I want this button. Yes, like that.
Like this?
That one.
This is going to become a button.
Yeah.
And what's the name of that button?
Button subtract.
No.
Because you declare it line 48.
But how the computer will know that this this variable is associated to this one? No, just this thing. This is expecting an object, but not a string. An object that is a component. That's some kind of a component, means it's either a text field or a button. You can't just put like a text here and then it's going to be displayed. A text, you need to put it into some kind of object that can be displayed, like a label, for example, or a text field or a button or a text area, or there are a lot of different kind of different objects, but you cannot put it like that. So now we're set. We did not add them. Now this button panel, we just added it to the panels, but we did not prepare the panel added there. Actually, we did something kind of weird, because we add to the panel before even initializing the panel. So this is a problem. This has to be before, because we need to initialize first the panel, then we add things to it. So we need to initialize it, and then we add something to it. After preparing it and adding things to it, now we'd like to add these to the north, and let's add now this panel. And even if I don't mention this border layout center, by default this is going to be center. But if I mention it, that's even clearer where this is going. So now this text field is going to go north, and this panel is going to go center. But what's inside this panel? This panel is organized as a grid layout of 4x4, and it has these things inside of it in this specific order. Now if I run this, I'm having something that looks like this, which is what I want. Now let's put some action into these buttons. So the same thing that we did previously. So because all these buttons, like the numbers, is if I press on them, I need to see that added to the text field. I will just use this class to implement an action listener, and then everything is going to be associated to just that one action performed. So now the action performed is whatever it was clicked on, it's available in this e.get action command. So this is the text of the button that was clicked on. So if I clicked on 1, I will have 1 in there. Now what I need to do in this display, I need just to the text to be this. Not always, because if I just do this, that's not enough. But you have to add the action, that's true, but before that I need to do something else. Let's add the action. That will be easier for me to add the action of all these buttons by just going to this loop, who actually is initializing them, and I'm going to add the action listener here. So this is button 0, add action listener to it, this one. 1, 2, etc. until 9, that's there. Well, the special cases, they're not working yet. I'm going to deal with them later. I don't want, if I click on plus, to see plus there. So I'm not going to do the same, I'm not going to attach the same action listener to this to these buttons. Yes.
Possible to have an implementation of the action listener and also an environment?
Yes, yes, of course, yes, we can have, and this is what we're going to be doing actually. We can have, yes, all these three together. Now what I'm doing is that if I click on a button, this is going to be there. But notice that this thing is not really what I want, because if I click on 6 and click on numbers, I'd like to see all these numbers next to each other, not just removed, moving the previous one.
What you do now, the minus and the plus and the rest of them will work? Or
No, they're not working. I did not do anything, you see, because I did not attach anything to these ones, because in the loop it just worked these with the numbers.
it's not shown and not work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. There's nothing that happens there. I just would like to. I feel like this text field is a little bit too small. Let me just see if I can just set the font. And I just would like to have this new font. And with this new font, I just need to specify the name. With this, let's just give it Arial, and then the size, the style. Well, the style is what kind of style I can use. For the style, it can be. I was trying to look for. Yeah, but I just would like to find the spelling of that. So here, for example, so the size. Okay, there's no. Because I don't recall how to use these. And okay, parameters. Now name. This is where it is. Okay, this is the font size, and then the italic. There's something in. No, it's not. It doesn't work because if I use them all capital, that means there's a variable that I'm inheriting in this class, a JFrame, but the JFrame doesn't have that. So maybe it's some kind of font dot and see if I can have something. Yes. So for example, I can make it bold or just plain or normal or whatever. Let's make it bold, and then this is going to be the size. The size is, let's make it 18. Now this is going to create a new font with this font face, this style. If I want to have more styles, I would like to have underline, for example. I can just use the more one next to the other with the or, but I don't want that. I just would like to see how this will look like, which looks much better than how it was before. And you can see that if I increase this, actually what happens is also the text field itself increases. You see the size of the text field increases, and that's something. If I just would like to have this like the normal, I think this is the plain. That's the normal one, which means that this is not bold. So you can play with this thing to display them in a different way. Now, what I would like to do is to improve this action listener, this event, this action performed, because if I click on these buttons, I would like them to keep the rest until I click on C, and when I click on C, this is going to become empty. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to keep what was before, and then I add to it. So I'll get the text of the text field. I'll get the text, what was there before, and I add to it the number that I just pressed, I just clicked on. And then this result is going to be a text that I add to the text field itself. So now I hope that this is going to be, oh, but you see the 0 is there. So I just don't want to have that 0, so which means this 0 comes from here. I'll remove it. So actually basically I don't need this. Now I just initialize the text field without specifying anything, so it becomes like this. And if I press on something, this is going to become like the number. Notice that the equal, etc., nothing is working. But now I would like to make this C work. And the C is just, where is this one? So this one button clear. I will just add the action listener. And this is actually very local, so I just don't need to have anything more than this anonymous inner class. And in this here, I just need to have this text field display dot set text to be an empty. Now I run this thing, type whatever I want, press on C, it becomes there. Well, then if the C will make it 0, then it's going to complicate a little bit my, if I'd like this to be 0. The only problem is that if I press this, I just would like to see something. For example, what I could do is that no, I just would like to do something. I mean, if this text field display is the 0, I just would like to remove it before adding a digit. So I don't say like 0 something. So if this dot equals, and I know it's I put 0. So if it equals to 0, what should I do? Well, let's empty that. So set text to be empty. Why am I doing this? So because I know that later on I'm going to do something else. So if it's not the case, if it's not 0, this is not going to be executed, and it's just going to add what was there before. And now I can just keep this 0 to be as it was here. So by default it's going to be showing 0 now. This is just, so if I type this, you see the 0 disappeared, and if I click on C, it's go back to 0. So if I type something, notice that the first time I type something, the 0 disappeared and just keeps the first digits. The first digit. Sorry? The first 0, of course, if I press 0, it's going to be discarded. So if I press, for example, 0, 0, 0, 0, it's not going to be added because it's 0. And then if I put 3, then it's going to. But if I put zeros after, it's going to be accepted, so it's fine. Okay, this seems nice so far. What we'd like to do to make the plus work now. Now, the thing is, I would like this plus to work, and I'm going to make it to work in just not only one fashion, to say 1 plus 1 equals, and it's going to give me 2. I just like to have 1 plus 1 plus 5 minus 2 minus 9. This is what I'm going to do. Regardless of what, as long as I click on the plus or minus or something, it is going to do the calculation, but the result is going to be shown only when I click on the equal. But that's the long term. Now, just short term, I just would like to do something much simpler. Let's just have this 1 plus 1, and then when I click on the equal, it gives me the result. But if I use this 1 and click on the plus, what should happen is that this 1 should be stored somewhere, and now it's going to be back to 0 and allow me to enter another number. And that's what I'm going to do. Now, if I click on the plus, so I need to have some kind of code for the plus. I'm going to do that, yes. Just anonymous class again. Yes? No, not really. It's not impossible without the array. I can use that with anything. It doesn't have to be the array. What do you mean? I mean the array for the, you mean for entering the digits? Not really, no. I'm not. You can use the without an array because you have 10 numbers, 10 digits. So you can use the old way; it will work. It doesn't have to be an array, but it's much easier with an array, of course. But it's not. You don't have to because you said it's impossible. No, it's possible without the array, but it's just going to be longer with copy and pasting, the same way that But it's possible. I just would like to be specific because I'm answering your question. You said impossible. It's hard, yes, it's hard.
It will be more than 100.
No, not more than 100. All I need to do is to replace this loop here with button 0, button 1, button 2 until button 9. So I have 10 buttons. That's all. So I don't have like 100 because button 1, if I click on it many times, it's going to do the same work.
No, I mean for the
1 million or something.
condition for the plus.
For the plus? No, it doesn't have to do. Also for the plus, the array is not necessary. Yeah, it's not something I must have. Let me show you first what I'm going to do. First of all, I said that when I click on the plus, I need to memorize what was in the text field and put it somewhere. So I need to define that somewhere. And that somewhere is going to be a variable that I want it to be stored and stayed into the class, because it cannot be a local variable, because if I declare that variable here, the variable is only known inside this method, and as soon as I leave the method, the variable is done. I want this variable to stay as long as I'm using it, so I'm going to make it double, or int. I think double because I'm dividing things, so I'll keep things double. So double, I'm going to call it result. And when I'm initializing things, I'm going to initialize this to be equal to 0. But of course, I cannot do that before the super. The super is the first statement that needs to be in the constructor, so that's why this should be after or anywhere inside the constructor. You can do that, but it's not something advisable. But you can do that. That's okay. Because we would like to keep our initializations in the constructor. So we don't get confused where this is. Was this initialized? No, it was not initialized. If I look at the constructor, I've not seen the initialization, I might get confused. It's better to follow the same pattern. So constructors are for initializations. Use them for that. Now what I do is, I need to do something, for the clear, when I'm clearing, this result should be back to 0. Because I need to erase what was in my memory. And then when I click on the plus, where's my plus? Somewhere here. What I need to do is to get that text field, convert it to a number, and add it to the result. So this is going to be this double parse double and then tf display dot get text. Now I got the text. I need to erase it. I need to add to that what was before. So for example, it was 0 and then add 1 plus. So this 1 is going to be added to the 0. If I type 2 plus, this 2 is going to be added to the 1. So it adds to the previous value that was in the result. The previous value was 0, but I keep adding. It will just keep adding to that result. So the result is going to be growing as long as I'm clicking on the plus. So this is going to make my ultimate goal of adding many operations at once. And that's the advantage. If I don't do the plus, what will be the result? It's as soon as I click the plus, this is going to be the number stored inside that result. And then it will not going to be the result of my calculation. So it's better for me to add this plus to keep track of the operation of what I'm doing. This is a plus because I'm clicking on a sum. If I clicked on a multiplication or subtraction, I will use minus. And the other thing is that I'm going to do is this set text to 0 again. Yes?
Now, now I'm adding the result of
What was before?
the 0.
The 0. So the first time it will be 0. But the next time it will be the previous number. That's the advantage.
Should it be the text field display dot set text 0 before the result?
No, that's actually, if you do that before, it's a problem. Now if I do this before, I'm going to, now I typed 1, I clicked on plus. It's going to execute this code. The first thing it will do, what happened to the 1? It's gone. So I don't have it anymore.
But how can we, when we click on an operation like add, it will erase that?
Now the first thing it does, before erasing, I'm taking the text, the 1, and I'm saving it into the result. Then I erase. Then I remove the 1 and put 0. That's why this order is really important. And let's run now. If I type 1 and plus, you see now the 1 was replaced with 0, but I know that the 1 is somewhere in the result. So where am I going to see that 1? Well, if I click on the equal, I should see the result. And that's what I'd like to do. Now, where is the equal? Here it is. Let me just
Set text to the
copy this.
result.
And what I'm going to do is this is going to be showing me just the result. But of course I need to convert this result to a text. So either I do this hack thing, which converts it to a text, or I prefer to do these things value of, so to do things properly. Now let's try that. If I click on 1 plus 1, now what's inside of the result? 2. So if I click on equal, didn't work.
Because we didn't make the
Why? The if statement and the operation in the equals?
Because you need to calculate the other number.
Yes, he only stored one.
Okay, let's try to understand what happened. Yes.
The second one didn't add to the first one because it didn't press the plus.
Because?
Didn't press the add.
Exactly. Exactly. So what happened is that this is what happened is that when I run here, I clicked 1 plus. When I clicked on this first plus, what happened is that this 1 was taken and stored into the result. So result was 0. I added 1 to the 0, so it becomes 1. Now if I press on 1,
Not stored anywhere.
this 1 was not added to the result. So result is still 1, which means if I click on this equals, it gives me 1.
So if we click again,
So actually what I should do if I click on this equals, I should remember what was the last operation so I can do it. So I need to remember that last operation. How to remember that last operation is that every time I click on the plus, I need to remember that I clicked on the plus. So I need somewhere to store that. I would have to declare a string. I'm going to call it operation. So this operation at the beginning, it's going to be empty. There's nothing. But when I click on, actually, you know what? Since I'm there, when I'm initializing and clicking on the C, what should happen is that this operation should be back to nothing. And then when I click on the plus, I will do these kind of things. It doesn't matter when I do that, but then I just would like to remember that it was a plus that I did. I just put a plus. This means now I did a plus. Then the advantage of doing that is that in the equals, where is the equals? Here. When I press the equal, before doing this display, I need to know what kind of operation am I doing. So I need to say check if the operation equals a plus, then what should happen? I should add it. So I should actually get this result. I should add to the result this thing here, the same thing that I did. And then I'm going to display the result.
What's E that is actually common? Equal plus.
No, this E here is going to be coming from, I know it's coming from the equals. So it's not going to give me anything but the equal sign. I don't have that, I don't need that information. I know that it's an equal sign because this here, this code here is only for the equal sign. It's not for something else. This is not like here, for example, when I can use this get action command, because this code over here can come from many buttons, while this one, it doesn't. This code here is coming only from one button. Which button? The equal. So that's why I don't need to use this action event. But basically, actually, what I need to do is a lot of if, else if, right? Because what happens here is that I'm going to do the same. If it was a minus, now it will be a minus. And if it was a multiplication, that's the x. So I'm going to be the multiplication. And the last one, if it was a division, it's going to be a division. I'm sorry? If it was 0? Yeah, if it's divided by 0, that's another story. But yes, that's a good point. So if it's another, if I'm dividing by 0, it's going to become a problem. But let's forget about it for now. I'm just going to do these copy and pasting that I did, the same thing that I did here for this button add. But you know what? There's a lot of copy and pasting that I can maybe find a way to put them all in one place, so I can have all these plus, minus in one place. I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do, basically, I'm just to cut this, and instead of having this anonymous inner class, I'm just going to create a new operations I'm going to call them operations. Just operations. Of course, now there's no operations, and you see now it's going to ask me, what do you want to do? To create a class in the package, that means here, or in class inside this class calculator. So I want this to be inside, so it's going to create this class for me. I don't want it to be static. So class that implements action listener, I don't need to have a constructor. Now all I need to do is, now I need to know what am I doing? So instead of being always a plus, it's going to be based on get action command. So this is going to be the action command because I'm going to use this where is it? This new operations. I'm going to use it also for the subtract, for the divide, and multiply. So all these are going to be using the same. I'm going to send them to the same place. They're all going to come here to execute this code. But then I always set this to be whatever it is, but actually maybe I can do this maybe at the beginning. Why? Because I can do something like this. I can put some kind of if the operation dot equals a plus, then what should happen? I should do this. Else if, while the operation is minus, I'm going to do this. And then let's just copy and paste again. If it's x, that's multiplication. And the last one, if it's a division, I'm dividing. Alright, so what I do, I remember which operation I'm doing because I just get it from here. That will be it. And then I see if it's a plus, I'm adding, if it's a minus, etc. And at the end, I just set the text field to be 0 again. Now this is always going to happen for all the plus, the minus, the division, the multiplication. All these are going to be doing the same thing, going to be sent to the same place. Everybody's okay? Yes.
Now the operation that I create.
Yes.
You have done the FLC on the
This one here, for the equals.
yeah. What's the difference between?
Well, that's a good point. Look at the code here
It's for the
and the code here. Basically, they are the same. The only difference is that what I'm doing actually is set this to be 0. So what I could do, I could just take this, and also what I'm doing here, I'm just displaying the result. While here, when I'm doing this, I'm not displaying the results. I'm just doing the calculation.
You can call it.
So I can do some. I can call it. But if I call, which one is calling which? It's going to be hard for this one to call the other one. But what I could do, for example, this code is repeated. I can just cut it and give it a name. For example, what is happening? I'm going to check operation, for example. I'm going to say, or call it do operation, do, or calculate. How about that? So calculate is going to be just a private method. No, not here. A private method, but this is a private method I would like to be in the class. So I'd like to have this to be in the class. Okay, you know what?
class or
In the calculator. I don't know what happened. I just clicked on these places and a lot of things went wrong. Is this everything okay? Okay, for first. So what I'd like to do, this calculate here, is going to be a method that is going to be in my class. Which class? The class, this one, the calculator. So calculate is just going to do one simple thing. This code here is going to be there, and it's going to be void. It does not return anything. Now the advantage is that this code is going to be just called also here, because that's the same thing. All I need to do is just calculate, and this is just putting in one place the different code, the same code, instead of just copying and pasting. I can just do this. So this is going to calculate, do the operation, and then display the result. And this one is going to know what operation was done, then calculate, then display 0, because I click this is going to be called from buttons that are operations, plus, minus, etc., while this is the equals.
So what's the calculate? Where's the code? Is it constructor or what?
This is the code. I just copied and pasted it here.
Take calculate from what?
I typed it, the code that was there. You see the code that was here,
Yeah, I know.
I just took it and put it into a method, because I'm using the exact same code here as well. So instead of copying and pasting,
It's like reducing from somewhere.
exactly, I'm just putting things in one place. But if you're confused with that, just take this code and copy it and paste it there, and that's what we had before. This is what we had before. We had this. This is what we had. In the where is this? This is the equal. So the equals does this and then displays, and then this operation does the plus, the minus, does the same thing again.
What do you mean? The method calculate,
I
I create it anywhere?
created anywhere inside the class. Inside the class calculate. Why inside the class calculate? Because this is going to be using, this equals is using calculate from the class and can have access to the classes, even private members. And this is an inner class that also can have a class, access to that class.
I think his question was, should I make it inside the constructor?
No, you cannot define a method inside of a constructor. We cannot do that unless it's in an anonymous method like this. Sorry, an anonymous class. So like this. But you cannot define a method. If I define, for example, this calculate here, it will not be known outside of this class. So that's why I put it here actually. But what is here? You see, this is the class calculator that extends JFrame and implements the action listener. This is the constructor. This is the action performed, this one, because it implements the action listener. And this is the calculate. So this calculate is inside this class calculator. And these are the buttons, etc. And this is the inner class operations that I just created that has this action performed. Now if I run, hopefully this is going to be working. So that 12 plus 10, I click on equals, that's 22. Now if I click on plus, what happens? This 22 was added to the 22 that was there before.
No, if you press equal, he will give you the set 0. So I think the result will be 0.
Now if I click on C, then it becomes 0. So as if I took, for example, 10 plus 12 equals, that's 22. Now if I click on this plus, what would happen? This 22 is going to be added to the 22. If I don't want that, I just need to, if I click on equals, I need to set the result to be 0. Now if I click on equals, I just preferred it to be equals instead of just equals, and just after doing that, just set the result to be equal to 0. Now when I'm doing this, I'm not remembering what was before there. So if I click on plus again, so it will be 22 plus the new thing. So that's 10 plus 12 equal 22 plus 10 and then equals 32 minus 5 equal something went weird. Let's try again. 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals, so that's working. But what if now 5 plus 5 minus 5 equals?
He doubled it.
There's something going on with the minus. So let's try to understand. Now, the code of the operations is this one. So every time I'm calling the operation, I click on a button plus minus, this is what is going to happen. This calculate. Now let's just try to follow what's happening. I'm just going to squeeze this so I can see everything in one place, because I would like to see the operations here, because this calculate is what it does. Let me close this. There's another one running. Let's run. And now if I type 5 plus, now what would happen is that yeah, let me just hide this. I just would like to see the whole code. Now 5, I clicked 5 plus, that means I execute this thing. The operation now is plus, and it went here. It just put 5 and added to the result. So now result is 5. If I type 5 again, and now plus, this is going to be remembered as the operation is plus, and then it's another 5 plus 5, that's 10. Now if I press on minus, I'm here. Now the operation is minus, the result is 10, and I'm going to go here, is the operation is minus, so its result is result minus, which means 10 minus that new number that I'm going to type. Did I type a new number? So what happens is that it's already doing the calculation, and it's doing 10 minus 0. Well, it doesn't 10 minus 0, that's okay. But if I type 5, now if I type 5 and equal, it's working now. I don't know what happened. There was. Let me close this and execute it again. 5 plus 5 minus 5 equals. So this is what happened. Okay, so why didn't we get it? Let's start again. 5 plus 5. You know, I'm not going to do this because it's kind of hard to just remember. What I'm going to do actually is much better. I'm going to debug this program by putting some places where I want things to stop. For example, if I'm running this here, I would like this to stop and let me see what's happening. And that's what I'd like to do. Of course, when I'm going to here, I'm going to see actually what's happening inside. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run this with this debug. And let's run this thing with the debug. And now I type 5 and plus. Notice that now I'm going to be taken here. The advantage of here is that I can see actually the variables. Well, there's a lot of them, but I can watch some of them. So for example, I would just like to see this operation. So how to see this operation? Can I see it this like this? Variables here? No. There's something to watch. How to watch? Right click and no. New watch. Calculate, no. Operation. So this is going to show me this operation. For now, there's an empty string, as you can see. So I just would like to also watch the, let's add a new watch for the results and the text field display. And the result. I just would like to see the result as well. So new watch is text field display. And this is going to be a text field, but I'm not seeing the value. Maybe later. Or let me add the other one. The new watch is going to be the result. So I just would like to watch these. Now let's move on. I'm going to execute this. Now operation is a plus. I'm going to get into calculate. Let's get inside of calculate. And is the operation a plus? Yes. So the result is going to be the text field. So what's inside text field? This is not going to help because I just need to go for the text. So instead of doing this, I'm going to remove this and add a new result, which is this one. I just would like to see what's inside of. So this is what's inside of the text field. So this is going to be converted to a 5, a number that is going to be added to the result. So the result is going to be 5, and this is what is happening. Okay, and this text field, the text field is going to become 0. And let's keep moving. It's going to these places. Let's just keep running because I don't want to go into the abstract. So now it's go back and it's waiting for me to do something. Now I'm not seeing anything because I'm outside. I'm just waiting for things to happen. I'm going to click on plus again, 5 and then plus. So it takes me back here. Again, now you see it's a plus. The result is 5 and I'm going to add another 5. Let me just go to the calculate without getting into the details. Now calculate gives me a result of 10 and this sets it to 5. So let's sorry, let's go back to 5. Now if I need to have I need to get 5 first, then minus. Now if I click on 5, now the operation is a minus. What is inside the result? That's 10. I'm going to subtract from 10 the 5 and put this to become 0. So I just put this to be 5 minus.
Press the minus before.
First.
If you press the minus before the 5, you will.
I did something wrong. Okay, hold on. I got confused. Maybe let's stop. I'm not sure what.
You pressed 5, then you minus. You did minus.
Okay, let's just. Okay, let's just start. I'm going to go a little bit faster. So 5 plus. Okay, so we know how it is. This is going to be plus 5 plus.
And then we press on minus before the 5.
I think I felt like I did something wrong. Now it's getting. Okay, let's start again. 5 plus. Then I need to next time to plus on 5, right? So now 5. Now minus. Then 5. So now after this, what would happen? What's inside? So it's 0. Why is it 0?
The method must be before operation.
No. it's a-
See 5 plus 5, 5 minus.
You know what? It's taking too much time. I just would like to let you find it. How about that? Yes. I'll give you the code. I'll try to find it. What's wrong? Oh, okay. Okay, if you find it, I'll give you 1 extra mark. How about that?
Right now or no?
Well, no, you have the day until tomorrow, inshallah. Tomorrow morning we'll solve it.